Aw, well, look at you. You're ready to revise this story you've created. Ah, how exciting. Look at this vision you had. It's absolutely gorgeous. Wonderful. Let's put that in front of us so we can keep track of all these pieces. That's a lot of story pieces. But it's fine. It's fine. You know, we'll just have to sort things out. Look, some of them are already, put together just fine. No issues here. So the first step in revision is definitely to sort out the pieces that you're sure about and the pieces you're not so sure about. You're probably going to have more uncertainties than you are certainties, which is fine. Once you've got those all sorted, you can start to put together the pieces that you're really sure about. Those will come together really quickly. Boom, boom, boom. No problems here. But eventually you're going to get to a stage where it's kind of a mess. You've got your vision, but none of these pieces are working. They're just sort of all over the place. You've got pieces you need, pieces you maybe don't. Nothing seems to match up. Stuff that you thought went together doesn't go together. It's a big disaster. Pieces you're trying to get in there. Things that just don't fit. And it's difficult for sure. And eventually, you just can't take it anymore! Gosh darn these stupid revisions! No! So, you know what? Like a rational human being, we're just gonna put these pieces in a box, and we're gonna put that box in another box, and we're gonna put that box in a closet, and we're not gonna think about it anymore, okay? We're just gonna go back to those first drafts and have a good time with those, okay? Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Meredith Phillips. I'm a writer, reader, and bunny mama. I don't really know how to transition from that to this, so transition. Anyway, I hate revision. In case it wasn't clear from that little prologue section to the video, I do not like revising work. It's hard and it's probably difficult because I haven't really done it all that often. So let me start at the beginning of this and then kind of go through. I'm not even going to call them tips. I'm just going to call them things that I think I've learned. It's a great title for a video. Things I think I know, right? I've been writing for about 4.5 years at this point. And really in that 4.5 years, I've just been doing first drafts. I write something for NaNoWriMo or for Camp NaNoWriMo or something like that. And it's fun. I love it. And then it just goes on a shelf, it sits on my computer, it sits on a flash drive, and I don't really do anything with it. So late last year, I kind of was at the point where I thought, you know, you really need to start doing some revisions on some of these projects to get them beyond that first draft stage. The whole idea of revising was exciting, but also intimidating because I'd never done it before, and just thinking about these projects that were 50,000, 80,000, 100,000 words long, some of them. Where do you start? Where do you start? I didn't know. So one of my goals for this year was to take a project that I'd written for NaNoWriMo in 2017 and do a complete revision of the story so that at the end I would have a revised second draft. It's proving difficult because I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. In the first draft stage, I feel really confident at this point. I kind of know my own process. I know what I need to get done. I know how to get it done, and it's a lot of fun for me. There's very little pressure in that first draft to have things like perfect or exactly right because you just fix it later. Well, now I'm in the fix it later part of the writing process, and I don't know what I'm doing. As I've been revising this project this year, it's had starts and stops to it, and I have learned some things along the way. I don't know if these are going to be particularly helpful for you if you've already done revisions before, but this is what I'm learning, and I just wanted to share it with you in case you're in a similar situation, or in case you've written a first draft or two and now you really want to continue into that revision process. It's not hard necessarily for everybody. I know there's some people who really love the revision process. So I just wanted to kind of give you that little background knowledge of where I'm coming from as a writer, so that you can take these lessons maybe with a grain of salt. So the first lesson for revision that I've learned, and that I think you'll see this in almost anybody's tips or advice on doing a first revision of a story, is to let that story sit for a while. What is a while? Well, some people like to let it sit for a week or two, some let it sit for a month or two. I let it sit for a couple years, but you do need a little bit of time and distance from the piece so that you can come back to it with fresh eyes. If you try to start revising something immediately after you've just finished writing the first draft, you're not gonna have a good sense of the big picture quite yet. So put it away, let it sit there, do something else for a while, and come back to it at a later point. The second thing that I have learned in this revision process this year is to have sort of a master list of the things that you want to change or to revise in this second draft. Sometimes when you get into the nitty-gritty of all these different scenes that you've written, you kind of forget the overall picture that you're going for. So having that master list and referencing it multiple times throughout the process can be really helpful in recentering yourself and refocusing yourself on the exact changes that you know need to happen. The third lesson that I've been learning and trying to remind myself is that the second draft, or this first revision, is not going to be the only revision. You're gonna revise it again. You're gonna have a third draft. You're probably gonna have a fourth and fifth draft. You are trying to make that first draft better, but you're not needing to make it perfect. It doesn't need to be perfect. A one-pass revision on a first draft is not going to make it perfect, and it's not supposed to. Focus on just making it better, not perfect. The fourth lesson I've been learning is that you can start the revision process without knowing all the answers. In my current work in progress, I have a character who has made a big life change for himself. He's made a big move. He's doing something completely different than he used to do. I've been working on this story all year, and I still don't know why he chooses this thing he's chosen to start doing with his life. There needs to be a reason. I've thought of like half reasons and like flimsy kinds of reasons why he would choose to do this, but none of the stuff I've thought of yet really makes sense. So I'm still working on that, and that's like a big part to his story. I really need to figure it out soon. I haven't figured it out yet, and it's okay. I can still work on revising the piece as a whole. The fifth lesson I have learned is that there are going to be points you get to where you feel like, you know what? If I just scrap this whole thing and rewrite it from scratch from the beginning, that's gonna be way easier than trying to wade through this whole revision thing. And it's gonna seem like a great idea, but don't do that. Don't scrap the whole document and try to start fresh. It's not worth it. It's gonna take way longer, and no surprise, that draft, if you did do that, the draft you come up with is still not going to be perfect. It's still not going to be a truly revised draft. So please don't try to just throw out the whole thing and restart it again. There's no point to that. The sixth lesson that I've learned this year is you just have to start. You have to open the document, you have to pull up that first scene, you have to read it, and you have to find places to insert new words, take out words, reinforce a character's motive, whatever you need to do. You just gotta start. For me, the whole draft is such a huge document. It's super intimidating because it feels like if I change one thing over here, it's gonna be like a domino and it's gonna change all this other stuff, and then I'm gonna have to go over to this chapter and change this and go back to this chapter and change that. And it's just a huge It's a huge mess. It's like that puzzle. It just is all over the place. You've got to have all these pieces in exactly the right order to get the finished picture. But if you keep looking at the big picture, you're never going to start. Be mindful of the big picture, but go ahead and open the document and get started. It's gonna feel awkward. It's gonna feel messy. Maybe you make some changes in that first chapter or two, and then later on you realize you need to change it back or something like that. It's fine. Just get started, because if you don't start, you're never gonna finish. The 7th lesson I've learned is that other people are super helpful when it comes to keeping you encouraged and motivated to keep working on it. So my tip to you, I think if I have one thing where I'm like, this is an actual piece of advice and tip kind of thing, is to find a writing group, a critique partner, or even just an accountability partner. Maybe you have a boyfriend or a wife or whoever, and they're not a writer, but they can still be an accountability partner. So if you say, hey, my goal is to work on this story 4 times this week for an hour each time, that person can come to you and be like, did you do your story yet? I see you watching another YouTube video, but did you work on your story? Find somebody else that can keep you going on the process, because unless you are super self-disciplined, sitting down and getting started on something or continuing to work on something that's really difficult is not going to be easy. So have somebody else in your corner to keep encouraging you and motivating you. We are in the time of pandemic. Maybe you're like, how am I supposed to find a writing group, Meredith? Where am I going to get those critique partners? I have some ideas coming that hopefully I can put into place later this year or early next year on my channel to help with that kind of thing. But for the time being, I would highly suggest getting involved on social media platforms like YouTube or Instagram or Twitter, whatever your platform of choice is. Start commenting on things, start liking things, start trying to interact with the people who are posting. It can be really difficult to do that, especially if you're an introvert and kind of shy like me, but I do encourage you to do that. I'm gonna have a video coming next month, I believe, on how to go about interacting on social media when that is not a comfortable thing for you. Put yourself out there, comment, try to follow new people. It is possible to make friends online like that, but you do have to put yourself out there. People aren't going to come to you. It's a two-way street. You both got to come to each other. The final lesson I've learned is to make sure that the story you're revising is a story you still love. In the revision process, or even in that first drafting process, you're going to get to points where the story is annoying you. It's not working, you're frustrated by it, you don't like it anymore. And that's fine, and you can put it aside and maybe work on something else for a little while and come back to it once you've kind of cooled down a little bit. But ask yourself seriously, do I still love this story? Do I still care about these characters? If you hate the story and the plot twist is stupid and your characters are insipid and you just don't like the whole thing, then it might be time to scrap it and move on to something else. I don't think forcing yourself to write a draft or revise something that you don't care about anymore is good for you. Again, there's going to be times with a story that you do love that you're going to be frustrated by it, and you need to move past that frustration, work past it. But if you truly have fallen out of love with the project, then it's okay to put it down. Don't worry about it anymore. Start working on something else. That is one thing I keep asking myself this whole year that I've been working on this project. I've been asking myself, do I still care about this? Do I really care about this anymore? And the answer is yeah, I do. I really like my story. I really love my characters, and I want to make it better. I really do. So that is part of what is keeping me moving forward, pushing to get this done so that I can go through it again and do another revision, which I don't want to think about right now. But I do really, truly love my story, and I want to get it to a point where I'm really proud of it and really excited to share it with other people. So those are my lessons I've been learning this year from the revision trenches. Let me know in the comments below, are you in the middle of revising something, or have you just been doing first drafts? Where are you sort of in your writing journey? If you have tips and tricks for revision, please let us know, because I'm always looking for new ways to do things. I still feel very much like a fish out of water in this whole process. I just feel like I don't know what I'm doing. Any tips or tricks you want to share, please do so in the comments. I would love to read them and learn and maybe implement some of them in my current process. If you liked this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to see more content from me, click the subscribe button. I post videos on Tuesdays and Fridays. You can also find me over on Instagram at Meredith Phillips Writes. Thank you so much for joining me today. Bye. I'm so paranoid about that microphone.